Hello all, welcome back to our weekly trading strategy video. In this video, we are going to discuss a very simple intraday trading strategy using pivot points. Before we jump down into the strategy, let us just discuss what the pivot points are for very basic knowledge. So what is a pivot point? Pivot points are horizontal lines drawn on charts that indicate support and resistance point in an instrument. Pivot point for a day is calculated as previous day's high plus low plus close divided by 3. So you just add the high, low and close of the previous day and divide it by 3, you will get a pivot point. Now once you have the pivot point, you can find support as the pivot point multiplied by 2 minus the high. This will give you a support point for the day. And if you want to calculate the resistance, it is again simple and same. You just have to multiply the pivot point into 2 and subtract the low. So this will give you the resistance point for the day. We also have things like S2, R2, S3 and R3, which are multiple supports and resistance line. But for the sake of this video, we do not need them. We are just going to deal with 3 points, the pivot point, this S1 and the R1. Pivot points are most widely used indicators for intraday trading system because of their simplicity. Now let's do a walkthrough about how we are going to use this system on a chart. This is a nifty 15 minutes chart. We'll narrow it down to 5 minutes since we are going to do intraday trading, and we'll just scroll back a little behind. So the rules for this system are going to be very simple. We want to buy if we see an instrument taking support on S1, and we want to sell if we see an instrument taking resistance on R1. When I say taking support or taking resistance, I do not mean that the instrument just goes and touches it, because after touching it, it could move again in the same direction. So then it would not be taking support. Taking support means that it goes there, it halts for a while, it moves around a little bit around the line or tries to come back inside. That is when we say that it is taking support, or the resistance is affecting it. That is what we are looking at. And the other thing that we'll look at is that in this system, we will not take a trade on an instrument if it opens or the first candle of it settles above the R1 or below the S1. If that happens, then we consider that the R1 and the S1 are not valid anymore. So we just leave it out. We do not take a trade on days like this. So now let's start from here. So this black line is the pivot point. This is the pivot point. This is a Zerodha chart. This green line that you see here is the S1, and this red line on top that you see is the R1. So like I said, in the first day, what you see is that the candle actually opened very close to S1, and then it dived directly down even below S2. So this day we just skip. We do not take a trade on this day. Now we go to the next day, and the next day, as you can see, that this is the pivot point, and this has a very perfect open, that is the kind of open that we want, that is between R1 and S1. But on this day, you see that the R1 and S1 gap was so wide that the market stayed in between, and we never saw it touching R1 or S1. So we leave this day also as it is. Then we come down to this third day. On this third day, again you see a very open is between R1 and S1, and then it comes here. So this is the point that you can consider that it is taking support. So this is the point that you can consider it is taking support, and then you can make an entry here over here when the close is a decent close above the support. And for the stop loss, you can have multiple things. One of the things that you could have is that you could keep this the swing low line below you took an entry as the stop loss. In this case, if we take that, it will be hit. The other thing that you could do is that you could keep a stop loss between the S1 and the S2 lines. So somewhere here you could keep a stop loss. In that case, this will not be hit. And the target for this system is going to be the pivot point. So if you are going short from a resistance, we'll be trying to close it here. If you're going long from a support, we'll again try to close it here. So on this day, if we had kept the stop loss as the swing low, it would have hit and we would have faced a minor loss. If you had kept it somewhere below, it would have been a flattish day, and it would not have been a profit or a loss day for that particular day. Now on this day, this is the one thing that I was talking about. This is the kind of trades that we do not want to take. On this day, again, you can see that the market opened in between R1 and S1, and then it dived down. But as you can see, it did not take the support. It just kept on going down. So we'll just keep this also out, and we are not going to take a trade here. Now, this is the perfect day when our perfect trade setup happens. This is where you see that the market opened between, this is your R1 and this is your S1. The market opened in between pivot and R1. It went up, it went a little up, and then you see it is taking support in the R1, and then it fell down. So once you see it falling down, you can take a short over here, and then you can keep a stop loss of this swing, and your target could be this pivot point. On this day we meet the target. Then we move on to the next day. I primarily encourage only one trade per day on this system. This again, the same thing happens, that you see it taking support on your resistance, so you could enter somewhere around here. It moves in your direction, but it does not hit your target. So if you hold it till the end of the day, you can have a very flattish to small profit kind of a day on this. Now for this point again, if we see, it opened between your R1 and your S1, R1 and your S1, and then it moved down. Then at this point, you see it touched this pivot point line, and then it closed up. So this is where we can say that it took support, and we can make an entry around here, and our targets are going to be again very small, somewhere around this point. We exit, and then we come to today's day, which is still going on. Here you can see that there is this is the R1 and this is the S1, and it actually opened much below even R2. So this day again we leave out the system and we do not trade. So this is the very basics of the system. You will not get much trades in this system because there are a lot of limitations of when we are going to take a trade for a single instrument. But if you spread this out across some multiple instruments and wait for your setup in a single instrument of your from your pool of instruments, you could get much more opportunities to trade this setup. That is all for this week's pivot point trading strategy. Let me know how you liked it and what do you think about the strategy in the comments below. And please do not forget to subscribe if you like this video and share it with your friends. Thank you.